Okay. I was at the bar, I was getting a drink, and there was a barmaid and one of the bouncers, I think, and I heard him say, "Who's playing tonight?" And she said, "Some power metal." And he goes, "What is power metal?" And she said to him, like metal. He goes, "But why is it power metal?" And she said to him, "They're Australians, but they think they're Germans."
And welcome to the Riff Crew. I'm your host, Steve Mitchell, and this is a new look realm as we're heading into 2021. We're out with 2020, and we're also expanding the Riff Crew here and going international, which is quite exciting, to say none the least. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce my new co-host, Skull.
Good to be here, Steve. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. In Cyberland, this is Skull broadcasting from the past, present, and future in the Chambered Cosmos. I'm here with my good friend Steve Oz, and I've been invited to fill in for Andrew for a while. I've been in a DC bomb rock doom metal band called Black Manta off and on for a while, and I've been in the DC scene for over 30 years, so I know a lot of people in the scene. As you'll see coming up, we have Joe Hasselvander here as our first guest in this format. And when Steve asked me, I was like, how could I turn anyone down from the land of Mad Max, Men at Work, In Excess, Rose Tattoo, Mortal Sin, Ayers Mountain, and of course AC/DC. So good to be here. And back to Steve. We'll just get this thing started.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we've got a great guest on the show today. It's none other than Joe Hasselvander. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good. It's the future, right? The future is now.
The future is now, my friends.
That's right. What's that, Steve?
I'm coming from the future as well because I'm a day ahead.
Well, I just wanted to introduce Joe for a lot of people that out there that aren't familiar with him. I'm sure a lot of people are. Joe's a legendary drummer, songwriter from Pentagram, legendary doom band. Of course, Raven, New Album Legends. Of course, Hounds of Hasselvander. Jack Star band, Black Manta. He was in Black Manta for a little bit. And he was in many other bands too that, I'm sure that we'll discuss. And a lot of people consider him, and I consider him as well, obviously a great brother and a friend, rock and roll disciple, and, one of the original godfathers of doom. So it's a real great honor to be, we're friends and rock and roll brothers and all that, but just to be able to talk to you and talk about, all of your crazy stories and to pass that on into, to a whole new generation of people, or to people that aren't familiar with you. So it's awesome.
Well, cool, man. Skull, it's good to see you. You're looking good, man.
You too, brother. Yeah. For a lot of people out there that aren't familiar with this, we were in a local band, Black Manta, and I had long hair and big sideburns, like a cross between like Thor and Wolverine, but things change. So, I look more like Captain America now, but, I still have the same rock and roll soul. So
Joe, tell us about, straight off the bat, the new album, Another Dose of Life.
Well, the new album came together in a very odd way. I guess I could just go into this now. I had a heart attack a few years back, which brought me to the end of Raven. I couldn't play the drums anymore. I've been told really that it's a no-no. If you want to play guitar, sing, that's all good. I don't have to put out that much power, but it's it's very hard work, and you get in your 50s, yeah, you start getting your 50s, it's hard on your heart.
The doctor
slamming
was
those
like, no
drums like
way,
that.
right?
Yeah, no way. So, but I've always played guitar. Skull knows that. I've had a solo career from the very beginning. My first released albums was my first solo album. So I've always kept that up, and so now I'm playing guitar, and I'm really enjoying myself a lot more. So I had to reinvent myself. Really, I had to climb out of a well. I had to go through rehabilitation, all these things to get myself back to normal, get used to having heart medication, those kinds of things. So I started looking at old rock and roll bands on YouTube, really old stuff. Buddy Holly, uh, you know, just Link Ray, all that stuff. And I started
Adventures and
watching
stuff
these
like
people,
that.
how good they played. And it really, people don't see how good those guys played guitar and stuff. I mean, every note is heard beautifully. And this inspired me, not their type of music, but their attitude about their music, the way they do it. And
Yeah, Link
I
Ray,
really
man. Right on.
I reinvented my own music is what I did. And I found that, Bob Mitchell is my singer. He was a singer in Attacker for years. You guys might know them.
Mhm.
He's a great singer, and is a kind of a Dio-esque style voice, and a little Steve Perry for good measure, and I said, I could write music around this guy. Let me try to do this and something a little different, and with other things in mind. And I wrote these songs, and really it's like nothing I've ever written. It's a little more commercial, yet very heavy.
It's heavy,
extremely
man. It
heavy.
sounds great.
Yeah,
And you're
but
saying
there's
that
good hooks, and
yeah, the rig behind you is what you've been using on the albums.
oh yeah, yeah.
You
I've
want
got
to
an
tell us a
old.
little bit about your Red Marshalls there?
This is the butler. He follows me everywhere. I use a PV Triple X amp, and most of them I've used I didn't like, but this particular one is just a beast, and really loud. Oh my God. And I got some old Red Marshall cabinets that sound really good, and I plus I use some orange equipment too now on
I
stage
mean,
as well.
I don't. Are you guys analog or is it all digital? You Pro
It's
Tools or?
digital. It's
It sounds
digital.
fantastic though, man. Like
It's
really
really good, and we
heavy,
have a
very
great mastering
warm.
guy. We have a mastering guy right across the street. Just walk across the street and deliver
Wow. Okay.
and
It,
he
it sounds
he
great.
brings everything to life. He really does. It sounds very organic, yet
It does. I was gonna say very warm,
it's
very
it's
organic.
into the new age of recording too. It's he's not afraid to push it loud.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm very pleased as how it came out. And
So it was a few years ago that you had your heart attack. When did you actually start writing material for this album?
I'd say it was about a year after the heart attack, probably a year ago, 2 years ago, and I just started writing. And as I had told Skull earlier, a lot of people have been involved in this record and the making of it, and they kind of ditched on me. A lot of people did. I finally got the right people involved, though. I had this guy. My drummer is Robert Ives, and he's from a band called Problem with Dragons, and he knows his doom metal really good. Like a farmer knows his cattle. You know what I'm saying? And he's really heavy. Very heavy sound, and so him and I worked together, and of course we found the right bass player too. And
Well, it's really
with Bob,
interesting.
it's a great
I think a
band.
lot of people would be blown away or find that the fact that you're on your previous albums, you actually did all of the instruments, correct?
Right. Yeah. I've
So
been doing it for years. Yeah.
yeah,
That's my routine. So
yeah,
because
like
I can't.
drums, bass, guitar, sing,
Yeah.
everything. Here's actually I have one of them set aside right here,
Oh yeah.
the Ninth
The
Hour.
Ninth Hour. Yeah.
Awesome, amazing. And so, you know, listeners out there, viewers out there, it's like, it always blows my mind as someone that has the talent and the ability to be able to, it's like, wow, you're multi-instrumentalist. You're able to come in and create and do everything. It's like Prince, I mean, it's crazy, man. It's really an amazing skill.
Well, I saw an incredible video with Phil Spector talking about how he can see above the songs and can see what the ultimate end is for that song and what needs to be put in that song. And I understand that. That's exactly where my head's at. I've always had a pretty good ear because I was a front seat violinist as a child, really young in elementary school, but I was the best guy in school to do it. And I have my pitch, I have good pitch, so I can hear things that some people don't hear.
So you actually played the violin too?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, that's how I can play. I think that's really how it is that I can play guitar, is because violin's hard. That's a very hard instrument. Oh my God, is it hard? It's very small, very microscopic. But you learn a lot on that little thing,
Sure. That's funny. I mean, because I have another one right here from the same period when you were producing all, doing all the further torments of the SG. I love it, man. The title is just like.
Well, that guitar, that's.
Are you still playing that? The red SG?
Yeah,
I there found it is right there, folks.
I found it in a pawn shop in Houston, Texas in 1983, and I bought it for $100.
Wait, from where?
And I bought it in a pawn shop in Houston, Texas.
Oh, okay.
And I was playing in a band, and we stopped in Houston, and I stopped in a shop, and this guy goes, I said, I like that SG. He goes, 125. I said, well, it's got a cracked neck. I'll give you 100. So he took it. Well, the guitar at the time was worth $5,000. It's a very rare SG. It says 68 or 69, I believe. And but it, that guitar has overtones and sounds. I've made a whole career out of the guitar. I've played other guitars, just don't get that sound. There's like another tone, it's like somebody else is playing at the same time, and I don't know what it is. It's the wood, who knows, or the microphone.
Yeah, there's like a haunting, like honey tone to that guitar or something.
Yeah, it's a really good SG. It's a really good one.
Well, I was going to circle back. We started talking about Raven a little bit, and you mentioned before you left the band, you were and you guys played the greatest show of your career, probably. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Well, yeah, I think what I really feel about it is the real, I guess, the big prize for me being in Raven. I was with them for 30 years. First, just to help out as a friend, because their drummer left. And I didn't want to see them. They were one of my favorite bands. I didn't want to see them fall like that. And they were friends. I happened to live in the house they lived in, and we decided to record together. But anyway, after 30 years, we ended up doing a show with Metallica, and really, where their original career fell apart when Metallica really took over. They had the same management, and Metallica got the lion's share.
I didn't know that.
So they kind of were out of it, and but in the end, we got to rejoin forces again, and Metallica was.
They kind of made up. They made up for it.
Well, they said that they gave us all full production, and of course they were doing shows from they were doing it from Buenos Aires. They were flying out of there and going to different countries in South America. And we played Sao Paulo. There was 70,000 people there.
Wow.
It was a good crowd.
Like a sea of people, like a mini Woodstock.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool. And I just remember it took all day to fill the place up from 9 o'clock in the morning, because they had to search everybody, and then it was just jam packed, and it was really.
What about the energy, man? With that many people, what's the energy like?
Oh, it was unreal, because I mean, really, I didn't need monitors, first of all. I hit the bass drum and I come off my seat. It was like a earthquake. You know, it was that loud. It was unbelievable. And you could hear me 10 blocks away.
Oh, the way they mic'd it.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was unreal. I didn't even need monitors. It was so loud. And dream come true. It was a great, not so much playing with them, but just to be in a concert like that was awesome. We played a lot of things like that, but not that many people. And for metal fans, that was the show to be at.
Right.
You know, but the people of Brazil got to see it. They got to see it and enjoy it, and they loved it. Oh my God, they loved it. So
well,
that was a cool thing.
I know that Steve in particular is a huge Cathedral fan. Would you want to chat about your time in Cathedral? Steve, were you aware that Joe was in Cathedral? Joe's been in every band, almost essentially. So were you aware of that, Steve?
Yeah, it was for 6 or 12 months or something like that, was it? Before the label pulled the pin, so you couldn't fly back and forth from over the Atlantic.
Yeah, the drummer and the guitar player had suddenly left the band in the middle of Ethereal Mirror, which was a big record for them. It was huge. And supporting that, 2 videos and all this, and it was with Black Sabbath. And we did
Tony the Cat period, right?
And, what's that? Yes.
It was Tony the Cat singing, right?
And we met some good people. I still talk with him. Yeah, I still talk with him, and of course my good friend Jeff Nichols, who just passed away recently. I got to speak with him on the phone before he left us. We were still talking about that tour, but it was a good experience playing with Cathedral. Here, these young guys who could play contemporary doom metal. I mean, just right, you know, their knowledge. They were way younger than us, but I had to appreciate that. These guys. They knew their doom metal.
Was that just a few shows, or was it like a full mini tour?
It was a full tour. No, it was a full tour.
Oh,
it was 3 months. 3 months in Europe, and we ended the tour in Switzerland. And,
well, how did that happen? How did you guys get the call? How did that whole thing unfold?
Well, the guitar player and the drummer left. They just suddenly left the band.
I know, but how did you guys get the call? Because I know, they were huge Pentagram fans already.
Yeah, Lee had been calling Victor about things, just talking about music and things, and they came to see us play too. And we had done a couple of shows with them when they came over here, and I think they called us to see if we would do it because they knew us, and who else is going to do that job at the moment's notice? So we went over and did it. We got there. They told us, they have a certain set list we had to learn. We learned it, and when we got there, they weren't playing any of those songs.
That's how it always happens, right?
Yeah, it was funny. So we had to, really crash course and do it. And the first few gigs, we only knew 5 songs, but we were playing 45 minutes. So we had to quickly rehearse the whole time we were on tour, Plus, we did a lot of drinking with that rehearsing, I think, at the time.
A lot of partying, huh?
That was a big party tour. There's a lot of people didn't make it home in such good condition.
Did you get to meet Geese and Iommi and all those guys?
Yeah. Geezer, especially, he would come back and hang out in the dressing room and tell jokes with us. And I used to go up on the stage when Tony would take his big solo and just hang out with him on the side of the stage. And I knew his bass tech, Charlie. I'd known him for years from back in my days living in upstate New York. So.
And who was singing on that tour?
Yeah.
I can't remember who was singing.
That was Steve Martin. I mean, Tony Martin. Tony Martin.
Tony the Cat Martin, right?
Tony the Cat Martin.
That might have been, was that the Cross Purposes tour or something?
Yeah, Cross Purposes tour, yeah.
That makes sense.
And then Bobby Rondinelli was the drummer at the time. So What was funny, I'd known Bobby from years before. I played a show with Rainbow, one of their first shows in America with the Difficult to Cure tour, if you remember that, with Joe Lynn Turner.
Joe and Turner.
Yeah, and he was playing drums for them, and I met him then, and his drum tech, I knew him from, was his drum tech. I'd worked with him in years way back in the 70s. So I knew everybody on the tour that was working for them. It was really a kind of strange.
All right.
But
Well, that's a perfect segue. We're going back to the 70s, and we actually talked about this, just me and you. We chatted on the phone a while back.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting for people to get kind of an insight as to how you started out and your inspirations. And you told me a crazy story. Now, we're living in the 21st century in this day and age, unfortunately, where it seems like our heroes are passing off into the great gig in the sky, And recently, one of the great guitar players, hard rock guitar players, and arguably of all time, Leslie West recently passed away. We were talking about that, and you have a Leslie West story.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about, enlighten us a little bit?
Yeah, when I was 17, I got a phone call from my booking agent. He goes, he says, I've been booking Leslie West and around. I said, yeah, I saw him play.
This is like 76 or 77, right?
76, 1976.
Okay.
And I said, he goes, look, man, you got to go get him. He's hitchhiking out on the corner in front of the club we played. He goes, he says, he says, he's going to leave town. Can you play? I said, yeah, I'll play with him. Can you get a band together? So I knew a bass player that when we were kids, we learned every mountain song just to learn how to play better.
Mm-hmm.
And we were little kids when 1970, something like that.
Right.
And we knew that all of it, Nantucket
So his
Sleigh Ride, all
band
that
basically
stuff.
bailed, and you were in a
They
popular
bailed,
band at the
they
time.
bailed. So I went and I showed up in the dressing room. He goes, now I'm going to do these songs. I'm going to do Stormy Monday Blues. I'm going to do Johnny Be Good, but I'm going to do Never in My Life and Mississippi Queen and some other choice things. I said, yeah, we know them all. So we did the gig, and he was floored. He goes, how did you guys get that sound? I mean, how did you do
that New
that?
York accent, right?
He goes, yeah, how did you do that? Those songs there, Joe? And I said, we've been listening to you all our lives. And all he goes, well, maybe I could stay with you guys and we'll play around the area. Because really, you could play a lot of gigs then and make a lot of money. So, but I said, no, there were some problems, and I don't want to go into them, but he wasn't in the best of health. He wasn't in the best of health. And he flew home. And he wasn't seen again for about 7 years.
His struggle
and
with
then he
drugs
came back out.
His struggle with drugs are kind of legendary. So
I saw him again when he came out. He played the Wax Museum in Washington, D.C. And NBC was there to film him, and do an interview. And I spoke with him. I was talking to Corky. He goes, go talk to him, man. You need to go talk to him. So I did.
Well,
and
that's a perfect segue into.
Yeah, you were that guy in that club.
That guy in that club.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he said.
That's a perfect segue into how you started playing with Pentagram, which is arguably, along obviously with Sabbath and bands like, before Trouble or any of those, Saint Vitus.
Yeah.
Pentagram was one of the only bands in the world doing that style of music at the time. So how did you get introduced with Bobby and the band, and how did all that come about?
Well, I have a friend who used to listen to a radio station. It was a free radio hippie underground station called WGTB. It was in Washington. And if you lived there, you would remember it. They played everything we want to hear, from Hawkwind to,
MC5,
Blue Cheer, whatever you want to hear. They played all of it. And they were playing his Bobby's singles that he made, the 4 singles of be forewarned and all those other ones.
Under my thumb.
When the screams come.
Yeah.
So then he said, "Hey, you should go see them. They're playing at the Keg in Georgetown." So we went to see them. My band went to see them. The Boys was the name of the band, and I went to see them. And
this is the original lineup. This is Mark One, right?
This was probably Mark Two, because it was.
Was Randy in the band at the time?
Yeah. No, Vincent and another guy Marty something was playing guitar. And they were more of a really Southern rock version of the band. It was not the heavy Pentagram that we know.
Oh, they had already morphed a little bit.
Yeah, Greg Main and all, but we arranged a gig at the Keg the next weekend opening for them. And when that started, I became good friends with Jeff O'Keefe, because he's a big fanboy and had all the records. And so I went over to his house on break and rushed back to the club, and then I told Bobby, I said, "Hey, do you like the Pink Fairies?" He goes, "How do you know about the Pink Fairies?" And we were best friends after that.
Wow.
And he goes, and a huge Blue Cheer fan too. And that's a prerequisite, by the way, for me.
Right.
And anyone knows
of course.
that. But, so he was that way, and we had a lot in common. And I had his band broke up. They left him high and dry, and I had a band already set up. We didn't have a singer. So we learned his songs, and became the high voltage version of Pentagram.
Oh, so did the Boys kind of morph into Pentagram, or?
Well, the Boys ended up joining Bobby's old bandmates, and they had a band called Sex.
Oh,
and,
okay. I've heard.
And we were laughing at them, and Bobby goes, "Well, they'll build a trash fire. We'll build an empire." And and I'll never forget that, because Bobby's a cool dude. He really is. And that's how it happened. And I look back and it's fun. Those are fun days. I was just a kid, man. I was 17 years old. And believe me, I was playing places I had no business being in. People pulling knives on me, and hookers and drugs and crap all floating. Horrible.
I don't know if you can see it, but this is the
Yes,
high
I do
voltage
see it, yeah.
7-inch signed by
Joe
Joe Hasselvander, none other
truly.
than Joe Hasselvander, my brother over here. So thank you for that, my friend.
Yeah, that's my first record. That's the first record I ever did, man.
Very cool,
My
man.
first record, and I hope Bobby and I both produced it. So
the Chamber of Cosmos, it's like a library. It's full of relics and artifacts, man. So, of course.
Yeah, it's like it's King Tut's tomb in there, man. It's unreal.
And this, of course, I have to show this too. This is the first Pentagram.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is also the one that you signed for me. You
notice that the logo's at the bottom of the record.
Yeah.
We got so much flack for that. You have no idea.
Why?
People go, "What? You don't put the logo at the bottom? How can we flip to the records? We can't see the logo." All they saw is black. Smart move, right? Spinal Tap.
That's hilarious. That actually makes a lot of sense. That's hilarious. I never even thought of it.
Oh man, Skip Groff cussed us out over it. So.
Yep. Another legend in the music scene. Skip
just
Groff.
passed. Yeah.
For
big person. Knew a lot of people. He knew a lot of people.
He was a big deal in the scene. He had a record store called Yesterday and Today, which actually named after the Beatles album, the Butcher Beatles version. But he was integral in the scene, the DC hardcore scene and the rock scene at Pentagram. He helped produce bands and record them. He was really pivotal early in the mid to late 70s, early 80s with the whole DC underground scene, the DC scene. So thank you, Skip, wherever you are.
Yeah, thank you, Skip.
Yeah. That's also, it's funny we were talking about you were talking about Blue Cheer being a prerequisite, and that's another one of these bands that is a part of your repertoire that a lot of people have no idea that Joe Hasselvander extraordinaire, drummer extraordinaire, was actually in Blue Cheer.
Yeah,
The
Shortano.
seminal, acid rock band from the 60s that arguably invented heavy metal. That's once again, I mean, your list of the bands that you've been in, it's just is legendary. So, I mean, you want to chat about that a little bit, how that whole thing happened, and
Well, yeah, but well, there's one other band involved in that really started that process was Savoy Brown. I played with them, and that was
oh,
and was Kim Simmons, the famous blues guitar player.
white blues kid.
Yeah, Why Blues Kid, a good one too. Boy, he did the
Yeah,
skin the cat on the guitar like no one could,
yeah,
like BB King could do it. But we had a guitarist, Duck McDonald, who ended
Doc,
up in
yeah,
Blue Cheer. And when Paul Whaley was busy with something, the original drummer for Blue Cheer was busy with some project with Randy Holden, who did the Population 2 album, and he's
yeah,
on
yeah.
the new improved Blue Cheer album, the third
Right,
album.
side two.
So he's busy with that. So they needed a drummer right away to play New Hampshire's Bike Week, right? And the Hells Angels Club, the Red Dark Saloon, whatever it was, they set up a huge tent, gigantic PA system, and we rehearsed for a week, and then went and played the gig. And as soon as we were just hit the first note, the people were all in front. As soon as they hit the first note, they moved back about 40 feet. It was so loud. It was unbelievable.
Right. So
And
bombastic, man. That's Blue Cheer, right?
yeah, and
It's
Dickie,
like an
thought,
airplane engine.
well, Dickie Peterson, we had been friends with Sonny Barges for years, and he called to congratulate him and doing Blue Cheer again, because they were a Hells Angels band in the 60s with their manager.
Who's that? Is that a Hells Angels guy? Sonny?
Yeah,
Oh,
Sonny
okay.
Barges is the head of the Hells Angels. He's the man. But Gut was the guy that managed them, and he was in the group, and he's long passed away. But of course, Dickie wrote a song about all those people, Lions of Paradise. It's all about the people who've helped out and died, just from drinking too much or old age, whatever.
Right.
A lot of people have come and gone, especially the people that help you,
Yeah. I mean, I got to see one of those gigs. I've seen them twice. But I saw you play with them, and man, it was heavy and loud and electric, and it was like I said, it was like a freaking jet engine almost. It was so loud you could see the air move, but it was so psychedelic. Those guys, them, of course, Cream, Jimi Hendrix, and Blue Cheer, but Blue Cheer was on a completely different level. Those first two albums, man, they're just, I mean,
I think a lot of that had
like
to do with
melt your face, kind
I
of.
think Lee Stevens was really more of a surf guitar player who just played it really loud. He was more of a surf
totally
guy.
Turned up.
He's like Dick Dale or one of them people.
Turned
and
up
he's
to
just
100.
got it on distorted to, a Dallas Arbiter through a Marshall Major. And you ever see the pictures of him playing? He's on the side of his amp. He's not in front of them. Can't take it.
It was so loud.
The amp, right.
But you actually ended up on one of their albums.
Yeah, I got on the last record. I did the entire record.
What's that one called?
That's What Won't Kill You.
Okay. And it has all the skeletons on the front.
Yeah. And Paul Whaley decided that he wanted to come back. And so they took some of the songs and put his drums and redid.
It's like half and half, right?
Yeah. And I was fine with that. I could have been one of those, Greta Garbo about it, but no.
Paul was a legend,
Paul
man.
is
like
cousin
drums with the hair in front of his face.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Paul was a friend of mine from a long time ago. So, no, it was perfectly fine with me. It had to be. And I'm glad because, both of them are gone now. So that was their last trip.
Yeah,
together.
I got to meet very, very fortunate.
We're under a bad sign.
Meet both of those guys, man. When they were here working on that album at the Polar Bear Lair with Chris Kozlowski. we went to go see Cactus, and I turn around and I'm like, you know, I'm drinking a little bit, partying a little bit, whatever. And I was like, is that fucking Paul Whaley standing back there by himself? He was just standing there by him watching Cactus, but you know, because of Carmine Appice and all, he probably wanted to go take a break in, heard it. Oh, Carmine's coming to town. I'm a drummer. He's an old school drummer. Probably wanted to go check him out or whatever. And you were there too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was just chilling. And I was like, how does nobody know that this fucking guy is Paul Whaley from Blue Cheer? He was just sitting there by himself. So I hung out with him, talked to him, and you know, I was like, thank you for all the amazing music and all the, you know, all that stuff, inspiration.
Well, he had a good memory. He had a very good memory of those things he did. About I drove around New York City with him in my car, and he goes, "You see that window up there?" He says, "That's where I did my first hit of LSD with Linda Eastman."
With who?
And she gave it, Linda Eastman.
Oh.
She gave it to him. He was told me about that. He goes, "That's my first trip I ever took." I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah." So no, he was a famous drummer before he got in Blue Cheer. What was his band? He was in the biggest band in San Francisco in the 60s, in the early 60s. And he was the guy to go to. And
Oxford Circle, right?
That's right, Oxford Circle. You are correct. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could talk about him because they're good guys. They were my biggest, influences growing up. Them and MC5, I think.
Dickie and Paul.
Alice Cooper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That Alice Cooper, that was like one of your first shows, right?
Yeah. My first show. Yeah, it was. The second show I ever went to in my life was Alice Cooper at the Virginia Theater in Alexandria, Virginia. And it was amazing. It was totally great, man. And I saw them again a year later, and they were still playing Love It to Death album. They were still doing it. And
right.
And that's kind of around the time I really, after seeing that, I think my father had just died then, and I went to see that show at the roller rink with them, the Alexandria roller rink, and they really, I knew that night, said, this is what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life. My dad's gone. I'm 13. My mom's out of her mind about that. I'm going to have to do something. And this is when I really took it all serious. And I mean, I've been playing since I was a little kid.
Wow, 13. That's impressive.
But I went on the road right away. I went on the road with 2 or 3 bands, and been doing it ever since. I've been all over the world.
You already had it in your heart, in your soul about what.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were you might be one of the, last generation of kids. I mean, did you actually see the Beatles play at on TV at the
Yeah, I saw him on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Ed Sullivan Show.
I was just front center. Yeah, I remember seeing the Rolling Stones on there. I saw them do Round and Round. They came right out, and wow.
The legend goes, whoever saw that show started a band the next day, no matter who you were. Yeah,
that's right. And then, do you know where you were when the Kinks came out?
Right.
No, I love the Trogs. I listen to Trogs. I listen to the Sonics. I listen to, all that stuff. I listen to 12.
And all that is all of it's weaved into your music. I mean, that's what's awesome about it.
I love all that stuff. Brian Jones was a genius. He was a total genius. And that's one of my other big influences. Brian Jones, Mark Bolan.
Interesting.
Mark Bolan, T-Rex. And that's another guy I saw that blew me away as a kid. It was so loud, so good. His band wasn't all that great, but he was amazing. He didn't need a band.
He has so much presence, man.
Had the presence. Yes, he did. He was a little tiny guy, but boy, big.
His charisma.
Sound, big. Holy mackerel. I remember a lot of that stuff. We were lucky to see a lot of good things in our time where we lived.
I'm a lot of music younger, but you got to see some crazy shit and you've had quite an amazing life, man. I
got a lot more to go, man, brother. I'm having more fun playing the music I'm doing now. I'm having more fun now than ever, and it's a new thing. Just being the guitar player is a lot better for me, and I'm having more fun than I've ever had. And it's been good. But the 2 gigs we played, it was amazing. I mean, we were right away where people wanted to book us after that. And then the COVID hit, of course.
Right.
And then we have been kind of out, but we're gearing up. They're going to open up here, I think, in September. So, I mean, they're doing some gigs, but you have to be all this distancing, all this, not a concert.
I was going to go back to Pentagram real quick, and because I wasn't sure if you were a part of it. Supposedly, there's this legendary story about them going to New York to record, and Sandy Pearlman from BOC wanted to manage. Were you a part of that, or was that like right before?
No, that was before me. Right before I. Yeah, right.
No, so that's when it all kind of like fell apart for Mark 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it. Yeah, it was. Hey,
because I also have
see what happened. People are very competitive. Yes, people were very competitive in those days. I see that.
Oh yeah.
You really had to be competitive because you had to have a big PA system. You had to have the lights. You had to have all the production in order to be seen by any record company for them to even come and see you. You had to have something going on.
But you guys opened
really had
for
to do
Priest,
things on a gigantic
right?
Gigantic level. Yes, we opened for Judas Priest when the day Hell Bent for Leather came out. The day
you guys were starting to get a lot of like local buzz.
Oh, yeah.
It's like these are the guys in the DC area.
Because they thought we were evil, and we were not. Because Pentagram is the name of the newspaper at the Pentagon. It's the Pentagram. That's the name of it, right? Well, Bobby's father worked there, so that's how he got the name.
Oh,
that's all it is. We thought it sounded cool.
But you guys got to open up for Priest. I mean, that once again another great gig, probably.
Oh, it was unbelievable. That was I actually have a blog. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I have a good.
I was going to say you should write a book. You need to write a book.
It's a classic night of gothic heavy metal, and I have all the photos from both bands from the gig. I have pictures of Priest. They're funny, man. You would not. I mean, it doesn't. You want to tell people
your blog site?
It's Joe Hasselvander's Blog of Doom.
Cool.
That's what it's called, and it's I haven't been on it in a long time, but there's some good stories in there. I have a lot of good stories.
I read them. I go back and read them, man.
There's good photos.
You gotta write a book or take that
horrible, ugly truth.
Can convert it into a book somehow. But yeah, I mean,
I hope to do that someday. Really do.
I always say that
really do. I've got nothing but time now, but I'm sure. I'm loving where things are going now. I thought I was a goner, really. I didn't think I was going to come back from all that. And then when the guitar, I discovered that and got this band. Things are better than they've ever been. So, I hung in there. I had to. I'm feeling better than ever too. By the way, Skull. Really, my health's really good.
You look great, man.
Yeah. I look really good for someone my age.
Yeah,
I'm almost 15. I'm almost 15.
I'm almost 15.
Yeah.
You look great, man. So Steve, did you have anything that you wanted to chime in with? You have any questions?
Well, you've played with some pretty big names: Priest, Metallica, Sabbath.
Yep.
I mean, apart from the big names, what are the memorable bands that you've shared a bill with?
Girl School was one of them. Because they're funniest. They're really funny, and they're a lot of fun to be around, and they play really good. I mean, their songs are great, and every night you're gonna, it's a good concert with them on the bill. They're just great. They're still working. They're still kicking ass. I think they were good. There's been Running Wild. That was a good band. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. A German band, was really big at one time.
The pirate metal?
Yeah, they were fun. They were a lot of fun. It was one of my biggest tours because, every night was an arena. Every night. It was not,
Yeah, they were huge.
Small.
It's like the mid 90s.
Yeah, it was their biggest tour. We ended up in Greece and and had a great night there. And we drove through the. I know we had to drive through Belgrade to get during the Civil War back in Serbia and all that,
Oh my
to drive to
gosh.
get to Greece. And the guy
Crazy.
said, "Hey, don't stop for anything at the border. He says, just get, don't just get petrol and keep going." Of course, we stopped and got booze and everything we get our hands on, in those days, back in those days. That was a cool tour, though. That was like the intensely drunk tour. Where they took the tour bus and drove it onto the beach at Biarritz, France, and it sunk up to the wheel wells. And we had carts of wine that we'd stolen out of the store in the bus. The bus driver took them all.
Oh my
I couldn't
God.
believe it, man. And then we took the baskets and made fried fish on top of them.
That's like so.
And we were out there for 3 days because the bus was stuck.
That's so rock and roll, man.
Oh, it was cool. I had all 4 bands. There was 4 bands out there doing that. It was
Rock
nice.
and roll damnation. Well, who else was on that tour?
There was a band called. God, I can't even remember the name of the band. It was a band that had a big tornado on the cover of their album. They were great. They broke up now. Great German band. We've had a lot of other groups that they should have made it big, but one tour, then they were gone. It was a band called Stone from Finland, I think.
I've heard of Stone.
They were a good, man. Good band. Very good band.
Metal.
Played one gig with them at the Channel in Boston. And back was us and Testament, I think, back in the old days.
Right.
But, I look at all these people, a lot of these folks that I played with years ago, they were little kids, and now they're doing soundtracks for movies, and they're big people in the business now. But they were just little kids playing, and one guy in particular, Gene Hoglan from Dark Star, and he was in, or was it Dark? No, it was called Dark Angel.
Dark Angel.
Yeah, he does the Metalocalypse cartoon.
I was going to bring up
him, yeah.
Ultimate Revenge 2. I was going to bring
He's an amazing
that up.
guy. Very nice guy. I've known him for years. That's the dude I've known, and he's really done well. He's done very well for himself.
So do you remember the Ultimate, because it was a follow-up to the original Ultimate Revenge, which was Slayer. It's a legendary video.
Yeah.
That has
I played
Slayer, Exodus, and Venom, and they wanted to follow it up.
Yeah.
And it was a few years later.
I was at the Trocadero Theater in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia.
The scene had kind of evolved a little bit by then, and so there was kind of a different mix. And so it was you guys and Dark Angel, and Death was on it.
Yeah, it was thrash metal. It was the new thrash, which was a little faster, harder.
Yeah.
And they didn't like us much because we were more.
You guys headlined, right?
We were the Quo, man.
Yeah, the Quo, man.
Yeah, we headlined it. Yeah, and that was something. We weren't like much because they were the very young guys, and we'd been doing it. And later on, I think even the guy from Death. You remember the guy that died, the guitar player?
Yeah.
He did. He wrote an article about how they'd acted badly towards us because they didn't understand what was involved. Now I understand. I understand exactly why those things happened. Like we didn't even know we were supposed to be in the hall doing a sound check because the management, the people putting the show together, just for idiots.
So they were all. It was all a bunch of kids, basically. Kids and
yeah, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know.
The Ravens were the veterans.
They got us in there. We got cussed out by this dude doing the soundtrack album. Cussed us out. Says you're late and your drums sound like shit. What he said to me. So, all right, whatever.
All right. I'm still trying to track that video down. So if you have an extra copy, you know who to give it to.
Oh, I have it. I've got it. Oh yeah, I have it.
I bet.
You might end up with it. You'll inherit it.
I need a copy of it. But I have this too. This is the last extermination. Oh
yeah.
And this I had to pull this out. The artifact. This is from the Walk Through Fire tour. A beer coolie.
I think it was with those guys. That was our best collaboration. Was Extermination. It's recorded real well.
Oh, it
Good
sounds
drum
great.
sounds. Everything's really, it's real good sounds on that album. I liked Architect of Fear a lot, and I liked Nothing Exceeds Like Excess. That was my other favorite.
Oh, that was your first one, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like that one a lot because it's just fast. It's fast and it's off the cuff. I mean, we don't try to be perfect. We just try to get the vibe, and we really did. And Architect of Fear was our first record I ever recorded outside the United States. I recorded it in Germany, in a place called Witten near Dortmund, in that area of Germany. And it just what the guy had a fantastic sound. He had an automated board and all that. We never used that, and it was amazing. And there's some really great songs on there. Most of the album came from just jam sessions at the time. We'd done jam sessions and just almost complete songs. You just had to tweak them a little, and we did, and we got a great record out of that. And,
Which
there's
one
some
was
of this.
that one?
That was the one I did in 1990 with them. It's the 1990. It's
Oh, so
black
it was
with
right
the
after
raven on the
Nothing
cover.
Exceeds. That was the second one you
Yeah,
did?
yeah.
Okay.
And we had a new management then. We had Dracula Promotions that did Running Wild and Sodom and Rage and you name it. They were doing all those bands, all the
Right.
rock bands. So and they're all our friends, by the way. All those bands are great. They let us borrow equipment when we were over there. All kinds of really nice people.
Awesome.
Rage, nice guy, man. PV, super nice dude. I say hello to all them guys. It's been a long time since I've seen them all. And we hope to take the Hounds over to Germany when this COVID stuff calms down. If it does, it might not ever. We might be doing everything on Skype for the rest of our lives. I don't know.
No,
I
man.
think it's interesting. The bands have put music out during this period. We did one. I know Judas Priest has been doing one.
Yeah. A lot of people are like just taking the opportunity to record, which is awesome.
Well, these are going to be some good records that come out because there's going to be some real emotion come out on these. And I think you're going to hear some of the finest. Bobby's new album, fantastic.
That Stooges sounding band.
Great record.
The Limit.
People are putting out some good stuff, and I think this will be a good period. People will want to come back to the records made then because they're really stand alone, I think.
All right. Well, I have a couple other things here I wanted to show real quick. I have this. This is that Covers album we were talking about.
Yes, Ancient
Rocks. I have that. And this is the keg full of dynamite.
Right on.
This
Recorded
is awesome.
in Georgetown, Washington,
78. 78, right?
19, yeah.
This is a really amazing live album.
That's documented. That's
early years of Pentagram.
Yeah, Bobby's finest stuff.
Yeah, that was a miracle that he recorded that. A miracle.
Yeah. Well, I know the guy that recorded it. Robbie Lee recorded it on his JVC Ghetto Blaster.
It sounds great though.
It does. It's amazing. It had a little graphic equalizer on it, and that's why it sounded good. We recorded Judas Priest with it, and that's one of the most popular bootlegs out there.
Really?
Years ago, yeah, in Killeen, Texas.
It's a miracle it survived, man. Thank God. It's a historical record of the early days of Pentagram.
Yeah.
And of course,
blow me away.
When it was just you and Bobby.
Yeah, that was our first. Just two-man.
Just a two-man band. You wrote everything, played all the instruments, and Bobby sang on it.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
When
we really started experimenting it together, and we found out we could do records like that anytime we want to. Really.
I mean, I think you might have even I think you gave a shout out to me, or I think like a shout out to Black Manta in one of these Sub-Basement.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite one of that group. That's a good album. I like that one. Oh yeah, Black Manta. I know that
Black
one.
Manta. I had to
Space Ape.
throw
Space Ape,
that
brother.
in there. There's an old photograph I have of you guys. I
Oh
don't know if you know
wow.
where that's from.
Spectators. That's from
Okay.
Spectators. Frederick, Maryland.
Oh, and Frederick.
Yes. Yeah, Spectators.
It's very. There's a weird story about how I came across this picture. One of my friends, Dave, passed away. Bam,
Right.
bam, bam. 3 of my friends passed away within 3 months of each other.
Yeah.
And his
that's how it's
brother
been for
didn't
me
know what to
too,
do with
brother.
all of this stuff. And I was like, well, I don't want you to throw it out. So I took like his cassettes, and one of them was a DVD of Pentagram, but it was like a bootleg or something. And this was
Right.
in it.
Amazing.
So I was like, well, that's fucking cool. I'm keeping this. I'm going to put it up on the wall or something in the Chamber of the
Looks like
Cosmos.
it came off of an old disc camera or something, you know?
It'll be one of the relics in the Chamber of the Cosmos.
No kidding, man.
And of course, I have to show this. I don't even know if you've ever seen this yet. Can you make it out?
No, never seen it. That's great. Never
My
seen
friend
it.
Hilton made it. He would make flyers for fun, and he made
Hilty, yes.
Death Row, Spirit Care, because you see the wolf man and the skulls. Maybe I'll scan this and send it to you just for the hell of it.
Yeah, man, it's universal horror all the way.
Yep, Death Row, Spirit Caravan, Black Manta at Jack's. I think this is like 2000, 2001.
Right.
Oh, this is a Day of Reckoning.
Day of Reckoning.
But you're on one song, right?
One song, yeah.
Okay, but then you went back and re-recorded it.
We re-recorded it. They wanted to do it again. I really wasn't excited about doing that, but they wanted to do it, so we did it. And it sounds a little funny, you know. Some of it's better, some of it's not. I think Stuart Rhodes is a great, fine drummer. Anyway, I just think his drums weren't recorded that well. It's not his drumming. This was a problem.
What you're saying, the Peaceville recording was completely re-recorded, or just the drums?
Yeah, the drums are re-recorded.
Oh, okay.
And I had to play to a band that's playing. The guy's playing a different meter than me, and see now I play everything on the click track and let the drummer just play to that. You know, play to the, you know. But back then we didn't have that. So that was in the days when you were like the game Twister, and everybody's on top of the soundboard. One guy's pushing a fader, the other guy's pushing a button, the other guy's on top of the other dude, and that's how you mixed the record.
Yeah.
You didn't have, well, let's make another pass at it. There was no such thing.
Right. It was all live. It was all real.
Oh yeah, and that's how it was. And if you had too much, if you didn't have enough high end, you couldn't get it back. See, today that's not a problem, but in those days, people don't understand. You would have to scrub the whole thing and start over if that happened. And
right.
That was the fun. It was like a volatile situation. I think that's why we were always smashed when we did this stuff, because make you nervous.
Well, the one thing about a lot of those old recordings, definitely in the 70s, is that they have such a great warmth to them.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it's still attainable to get that feel, given the digitization of recording?
Yeah, if you have a very good mastering guy, he can get that sound very easy.
Well, yeah, because those new songs sound great.
Yeah, he brought the original is good, but when he did the next Passover, it sounded like an old recording, a more live, in your face recording. So it's just a certain EQ trick, I guess, and EQ for the EQ. Yep.
So maybe we should listen to one of those tracks. I'll just pop one up now. This one's Walking Tall. So this one surprised me a little bit because I was expecting Doom, and it sounds a lot different. It actually reminded me a lot more of Raven.
Yeah, a little bit. It's got a new wave of British heavy metal riff to it.
It's great. You're right. To me, it's a different kind of Doom to me, because it's more like 70s Doom.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit for everybody. I'm trying
Yep.
to get, anyone that listens to metal, they can listen to anything on this record. There's a lot of different types of music on the record. Very,
Yeah.
So, but it's all in metal, and there's something for everybody on it who listens to metal in general, I think.
So is that rolling, Steve?
Yep, you guys can't hear it, that's all.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, as long as everyone else can hear it. Well, did you've been quiet, Steve? Do you have any questions?
Well, given obviously your lengthy career in the music industry, what would you say are the do's and the don'ts from your experience?
Any
The
final
do's-
words?
The don'ts is don't create your own music. Don't try to don't live vicariously through other bands. I love Judas Priest, and I'd love to write a Judas Priest album, but I can't do that. It's unfair to them and to myself. You have to find different avenues. You can always listen to these people, and I love what they're doing. You just do it. You do it better, or you do something a little crazier than them.
Yeah, like
that's okay.
A tweak on it.
Because music, that's how music. There's nothing new under the sun. It's all been done. It's all been done long before we were born. A lot of this stuff, swing bands, but you have to be true to yourself. Investigate new avenues. Don't just, I'm going to write a song that sounds like AC/DC today. You don't. I mean, you got to do, get out there on a limb.
Right.
Because if you want, because first of all, that one song, all you have to do is get it right one time, and you're going to go to the bank the rest of your life on several songs. That could feed you and put you in an apartment for a while. So
right, the royalties.
You have to get that. You don't have to get it one time, and so you need to investigate other avenues. Alice Cooper surely did. Blue Cheer did. You have to do the same. And kids, that's what they need to go through. Be true. Do something wacky, different. But stay heavy. But you don't have to be like everybody else. Do what you feel inside. That's the important thing. If you want to be something to be remembered, you have to. If you sound like everybody else, you're just going to be forgotten like a lot of stuff is throwaway. You don't want that to happen. It's because you talk about all the work and all the time away from your family, all the time away from your friends, and your own life is just, has to go on hold while you do a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of rehearsal, a lot of touring.
Well, like you said, it's a calling. It's a calling. It's a
calling, but you make it worth your while because you don't want to crash and burn. That's why I'm still in business, man. I'm getting up there. I'm still in business. I still get phone calls. Some people don't because they're not doing anything. They're not stepping outside themselves and doing something a little different, a little bigger than themselves. That's what it is. I guess that's my do's and don'ts. Don't stay mediocre. Go all the way, man.
Right.
Come on.
Turn it to 11, 12.
Turn it on to 11, 12, 13 if it's possible.
You're right.
And how important was it for you personally? Because we've mentioned a lot of the bands that you've been in. There's probably a lot more that we haven't mentioned. How important is it to play in different bands so that you pick up those influences or tastes or insights from playing with different guys?
Well, it is really important. I used to tell this to the guys in Raven. I said, look, I was always doing records in tandem when they were doing records. I'm doing another album with somebody else at the same time. I'm just taking a break. I used to tell them, it helps your band to have me listen to other people and get new ideas for you guys. So, and they understood that. And John even got in the action, started doing some other records with people and get another outlook on the whole thing, and it's you definitely need to get other influences in there, jam with different people, get different feels, and you'll have a light bulb will come up above your head. You go, hey, wait, I gotta great new idea, and you got it from somebody else you don't even know, but it helps. I mean, you don't want to be stagnant with the same group of people. Look at the Beatles. They couldn't handle it anymore, you know?
Mm.
And I don't think it was any women that broke them up. It was just that, you know, you got 4 guys that can really write music very well. And,
It wasn't Oh No Yoko?
Enough's enough, you know, after a while.
Oh No Yoko and her screeching?
No, it wasn't her. That wasn't how it went. No, because I actually met her. She was a very nice lady.
Oh,
Very
yeah?
nice lady. Yeah. She was
Where'd
worried
you
about
meet
me.
Yoko
So
Ono?
I met her in New York when I was doing was with Savoy Brown doing a showcase at SIR Studios, and she was rehearsing for her tour that got canceled. If you remember, she had a big tour and got canceled. So back in the 80s or 90s.
How do you
I was
rehearse for her kind of vocalization? Is it just screeching?
Well, she wasn't too bad. I mean, she was doing old standards, and she wasn't actually too bad. She was actually trying to sing. And I told her, I said, "No, you don't sound too bad. Sounds pretty good." She goes, "No, I like the band." She was real happy. And then they got canceled the same day.
What was that? Why
She
did that happen?
thought I was dead or something, laying on this couch because I was asleep. You know, she goes, "You all right?" So these feet come up. I looked up, and it was Yoko. But she was very nice. I mean, to be concerned, I thought she was very cool to be concerned. And that was the night we played, and Duck McDonald and I played with Jimmy Coons for all the major labels in New York, and for Savoy Brown. Of course, they didn't go for it because there was lots of weird things happened when we did it. So guitar strings
was
broke.
that pre-Raven?
Yeah.
That was pre-Raven.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was in 1987.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Back then. Yeah. And Gary Bordenero was our bassist from the Rods, if you remember that too.
Oh, I know that name.
Very killer bassist. Boy, he's one of the best. So
he played a grabber too, didn't he?
He played a limbic bass, like Stanley Clark. He had one of those.
Oh,
really,
okay.
really good bass player. Though. Man, was he good. And
and I'm curious because from a very young age, you've been a working musician and a touring musician. What was it like trying to juggle multiple bands and multiple touring commitments?
And family duties, all that.
Yeah.
Think about it. Not only that, did I have a band? I had my child I was raising by myself, and I had a job, full-time job, and I was in 4 or 5 bands. I just found the time to do it. Schedule it out. I was lucky enough to do it. And by the grace of God, I was able to, help my kid out, and that was the main thing. So I did whatever I could to keep the food on the table. Too. There's a little bit of it.
Right.
Given there's not the opportunity for bands to tour at the moment, do you still see that it's viable for guys to try and make it, full time as a working musician, or is it just not feasible?
Well, it just depends on how the whole system works. I think everyone's going to have to figure out what they're going to do. I mean, they very well could be. They've never let us take us out of this. So we're going to have to do everything by Zoom and do live concerts, live streams. If that's the way it goes, that's what we'll do. I think that you got to get the music out there, whether you can play in front of people or not. So
I have my fingers crossed. Well, I mean, that it'll go back to normal here in the next 6 months or so.
Certainly hope so.
Yeah, I got my fingers crossed.
Yep.
So did you have any final words of wisdom or anything like that, Joe?
Well, I guess I could talk to people that have listened to me, and anyone out there who has listened to my stuff. Thanks for listening all these years, and man, I've got a lot more to give, and so does a lot of the people I played with too. So I played with nothing but really good people. I've been not really a bad one in the bunch, and
you're born under a lucky star, Joe. You've been blessed.
I'm gonna keep playing for you guys till I drop. So that's the way it goes. I mean, really, it's rock it till you drop. It's true.
That's how you do it.
And now well, I've been in this since I was 6 years old, brother. I mean, why, am I gonna stop James now?
No.
I don't think so. No.
Well, you got that new album coming out.
But when I'm gone, you'll have a lot of stuff to listen to, huh?
So you got that new
What's that?
album coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out. Well, it's it's already at the plant. They're doing it. Whenever it comes out, it comes out. They're
Another Dose of Life. I can add it to my collection when it comes
Yeah.
out.
It could be out in the next couple of days, for all I know. So you
Oh,
guys have
really?
the scoop. You're the first to have the scoop on the songs, on some of the songs, and the interview. You're the first. You guys are. So there you have it.
Right on, man. My brother
Yes.
Joe, rock and roll brother, son of Orpheus, disciple of rock and roll, godfather of
French
Doom.
Huguenot.
French Huguenot.
Yeah, of course.
Where did all the standing people go? No one's gonna stand.
And welcome back to the Riff Crew. Sorry, I'm your host Steve Mitchell, and obviously back with Skull. So that was
Also,
a great chat.
co-host of Riff Crew now.
That's right, mate. You have joined the crew. You are officially part of the crew. I'm not sure
Thank
if
you
you were
very
one of
much.
those scurvy lads. Sounds like you're joining the
Big shoes to fill. I know a lot of people liked Andrews, but you know, he's basically been in the scene a long time. 20 plus years, you said. So he's carrying that torch of metal and hard rock, punk, etc. So that's awesome.
I think you've been carrying a lot longer based on the conversations we've had about 70s rock.
Oh, me. I'm talking
Yeah.
about Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yep.
speaking of 70s rock, because I thought we'd talk about a couple of albums that we like and perhaps people aren't all that familiar with, and you've picked one dead bang in the
Yep.
70s. Which one is that one?
Well, I'm wearing a shirt right here, if you can see. Caress of Steel, Rush, my favorite album of all time, my favorite band of all time, my favorite album of all time. I figured I wanted to pass the magic on to all of you young, aspiring Rush astromancers out there. To me, I'm sure there's other people out there that will agree with me. Maybe they won't. I'm sure they will. But Rush is my favorite band of all time. I can go into it, but I was turned on to Rush by my brother Greg and my brother from another mother, Izzy, who in specific turned me on to this album. It was in cassette form, mind you. It was on the Archives cassette when I was a kid. But from that emerged my favorite album of all time. It's just there. It's a magical thing. Obviously, as being spatial creatures, you tend to whatever you hear first is your first experience is what, you know, you feel the most or inspires you the most. But in this particular case, there's a not everything on it. This album is a masterpiece for me from beginning to end. I know people talk about 2112, and it is. All Russia albums are up to a certain point, of course.
Oh,
But
that's controversial.
yeah, I see Steve is smiling over here. But really, this album in particular, to me, it speaks to me on so many layers, on so many levels. Lakeside Park is just a very spiritual song to me. I grew up near the water. I had there's a lot of memories, a lot of, you know, fun party memories and stuff. And the Necromancer, I'm a huge Tolkien fan, so it has that Tolkien reference in it. And it just, side two was their first experiment with these long multi-track, you know, concept sides, if you will. And so, you know, a lot of people say, some people, you know, really, some people do agree with me about Caress of Steel. Some people say, oh, 2112. The thing is, if there was no Caress of Steel, there'd be no 2112. It was their first experimentation with, you know, really going progressive. You know, their inspirations were King Crimson and Yes and Genesis and all these other like progressive rock bands. And they were taking that, but they were also kids of Cream and Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. So they were taking the heavy of that and incorporating it with the progressive and turning it into Caress of Steel, which is pound for pound greatest album of all time. You can dissect it. I recommend that you do. I challenge you to listen to it. You'll be able to hear all the magic and the power inside of it. It'll speak to you the same way it did me. And the thing about Rush is all their albums speak to you on some very spiritual level, I believe. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with all the aspiring young astromancers out there, disciples of rock and roll, everyone, you know, the Brotherhood of Orpheus, or anybody out there that is interested in trying something new, something different. If you're into the 70s, this is it, man. This one album encapsulates everything from the 70s of what was going on with Zeppelin, and there's some Sabbath in here, and the prog. It takes all of those elements and puts it in one album. One amazing album, mind-blowing, face-melting album. Especially the solo on the Necromancer will just fucking melt your face off. It's mind-blowing. You know, and I have to say, recently with the passing of Neil Peart, you know, we miss you very much, Professor Neil. You know, a lot of people always give props to Neil as being one of the greatest drummers of all time, which he is. Of course, I'm wearing my shirt and I'm wearing my Rush pin here. And Geddy being one of the greatest bass players of all time. But Alex always gets overshadowed a little bit. And when you listen to him play, especially on the early albums, all the way up to, let's say, Farewell to Kings, Even Hemispheres, he is really an amazing, scorching lead guitar player. I mean, he's using that white hollow body Marshall amps. Just the synergy of the sounds and everything. It's all there, man. I mean, I would even, a lot of people don't mention the first album. The first album, which has a different drummer, Tom Rutsey, and then the second album, Fly By Night, and this, and then 2112. I mean, how many fucking amazing albums can you make back to back, one after the other? Bam, 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 bam. And of course, Terry Brown, who's essentially was the fourth member of Rush, spinning the knobs, making these guys sound as the best that they could be. I mean, Terry Brown is they were all kind of wizards, and he was the wizard behind the knobs, turning the knobs, making these guys just sound otherworldly. I mean, otherworldly. It's mind-boggling. Listen to it. I can't talk enough about it. I could talk about Rush all day long and this album all day long, but I'll stop. I will say that I will thank them. Like I said, my brother, and where is this? There's something inside. Where did I put it? There's a picture of us when we went to see the final tour of us all together, lunatics, all wearing our Caress of Steel shirts. And we went to go see them. No one knew it was going to be the final tour. Nobody knew. They didn't even know.
Yeah.
But thank God we all went together. Those are, like I said, they're older than me. They turned me on to amazing music, to Rush, Caress of Steel, etc. I owe them forever and ever. I'm forever in their debt to those guys, Greg and Izzy. Greg, my brother, and Izzy, my brother from another mother. So thank you, Astromancers and Rock and Roll Disciples, Brotherhoods of Orpheus. So what about you, Steve? What are you going to follow that up with? What do you got there?
Well, some of the terms you've been using actually cross over to this band, even though it's a very different band, and that is Astrofuzz, that we just saw a live clip from. And they've released only one album in their career so far, and that is called Necromancer. And I'm not sure if I can call it an album. And the reason why is they don't have any CDs for sale, and they don't have any vinyls for sale. They've only got cassettes.
Oh,
Old
you were
school.
saying. I like it.
So
Niche market.
Yeah, obviously their music's online, but if you want a physical copy, you've got to get the cassette. That's it. So
they're making you work for it. I like that.
That's right, yeah. And I've seen the guys a few times this year. For those who haven't heard Astrofuzz, apart from the live clip that we just played, they basically sound exactly like Electric Wizard, which is no complaint from me because I like Electric Wizard.
Sure.
I guess it's more that their older sound rather than their latest album. So if you're just looking for something in that vein, it's a really great album. I think it came out about 2 years ago, so just independently released. So it's one of those underground hits that you may stumble across and fall in love with. So,
well, thank you, my friend. They sound cool, and thank you for letting me espouse the genius.
You know, it's kind
Rush.
of like Rush fans and Dianetics. It's kind of like a musical version of Dianetics, I think.
Musical version.
It's just, you fall into a cult. It's like once you're in there's no escape.
But it's a good cult.
Yeah.
It's a musical cult. It's the cult of Orpheus, but the Brotherhood of Orpheus.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we all are. People that are into music. I mean, we're doing this for a reason. I mean, we're not making any money doing this. We're doing it because we love it. You asked me to come on board. I said, I want to do this. I want to pass on, just like Joe. I mean, it's almost like we're at the point in the music industry where you really have to love music to do it, because who's making the money? I mean, I get the pop stars and all that stuff, but like the rockers and the people like us, like you and I and Joe, we want to preserve this. We want to spread the word, carry the torch, carry the flame of music to the next generation, or who's willing to listen. But it's really important. I mean, historically it's important, just like any kind of history.
Absolutely.
Musical history is vitally important to be passed on, and to to be cataloged and to be remembered and all that stuff. So thank you for asking me to be a part of the Riff Crew. I'm looking forward to it. I think we were talking, we might have some other guests coming. We might have
we keep
Lucas.
secret. No.
Oh,
we
okay.
won't spoil it. We got to keep people in suspense.
Oh, we have to keep it secret. Okay.
That way people keep coming back.
You don't want to tease anybody?
No, not
No
yet.
teasers, huh? The teasers is what keeps people coming back. They want to know. They want to see it. But okay. But we will have some surprises. I have my own personal contacts from people that I know in the DC scene. I've been in the DC scene since like 88 or so. So I know people. Huh? 88, yes.
1888.
In 1888, that's right. Is me and Wild Bill Hickok, well, Buffalo Bill, and Geronimo. We made a power trio called the Buffalo. Oh wait, there's an Australian band called Buffalo. Anyway, so Australia's version of Black Sabbath. So I'm sure we'll talk about that some other time. But yeah, that's why we're here. We just want to spread the word, carry the torch of of music to anybody out there that's willing to listen. So that's what it's all about, paying it forward.
That's right. And as you said, is that for those who are into metal, is that metal, I guess, started in the 70s, and given the time, is a lot of the guys who and girls for that matter who were in the scene and creating music, obviously are falling off the perch, because nobody can withstand the test of time. So, but their music can. So it's important that
Yeah, we're gonna have to create a segment. We'll have to create a segment called "The Great Gig in the Sky" or something like that, because we haven't even had a chance to talk about LG, which I know you're a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of. I didn't get to see him when I wanted to see him, but I did see him for the Shoot Fast tour, 97. That was cool. Obviously, I wanted to see him earlier. That there's a whole story behind what happened with that band. I didn't get to see him during the Wolverine Blues tour or anything like that. So there's people like him, and then obviously like famous, like Leslie West. I'm sure he even influenced people down in Australia. I mean, I don't know who watches this, young, old, or but we're kind of we have the spectrum here. We're between him and me. I think we're covering the entire spectrum of music, new, old, in between. I mean, I went to school for history, so I love history, and so I incorporate the musical history, with that. So yeah, man, it's really important for us to remember all these people, because if we don't talk about them, then they'll be forgotten. Those stories, their tales will be forgotten. But yeah, and there was that young kid. You might know more about him than I do, but that Children of Bodom kid, the guitar player that recently passed away. Is it Bodom? I can't remember, but they're a little bit newer for me. Never really got a chance to get into them. I think I have a couple of those Monsters of Metal DVDs in the back. I think they might be on those. I watch them every once. I get those Monsters of Metal DVDs so I can kind of keep up with what's going on with the newer bands. It's like, hey, I'm not going to be buying all this stuff, but if I get one of these Monster of Metal's DVDs with all the newer bands on there, at least I can know who they are, what they look like, what their sound is, what their vibe is. So that's one of the ways that I do to, even though I'm more into like pre-2000 stuff. I do that because I want to stay on the pulse of what's going on in the tens and the O's and the teens and all that stuff, just to kind of see where the musical world is, And like Joe said, and I think everyone kind of knows this now, after like 2000, after the grunge movement, and death metal and black metal, and pretty much everything's been done. Music evolved at a lightning speed, like after Elvis, like at lightning speed, and almost everything's already been done. But you know what? You can still make great music, and it's all about your soul and your heart and how you feel, in expressing that and your energy and keeping and paying that shit forward, man. Just keep doing it. And that's what this is about.